Elden Ring Nightreign has released 1 year ago today. And with all my time spent in this game, now well over 1,200 hours, I really want to give my raw retrospective on this game, given I have been playing it since that initial release date. Main focus being how much the game has changed over the course of this 1 year. From its rather humble and somewhat messy beginning to where it is now, where despite me craving more content for it, I do truly believe it is a complete package. Before that though, I briefly want to reflect on the lead up to Nightreign itself. I remember this game first being announced, seeing the trailer for it, seeing the sight of Grace being overtaken by the rain and thinking, okay, this is evidently Elden Ring. Is this more DLC for the game? Like, beyond Shadow of the Erdtree? I thought they were only doing Shadow of the Erdtree content. And then, boom, it's just a brand new game with admittedly really cool looking characters. But what's this? It's a roguelike, like, choose your hero kind of game. FromSoft, what the heck are you guys doing? And then it was kind of quiet on that for a while. We got drip fed a few bits of information. And then the open beta test comes out. I didn't get to play it, but I watched a ton of gameplay on it because I was really curious about it. And I thought, okay, this looks pretty cool. This looks fun. Holy crap, we have Dark Souls in it, which, yeah, in the trailer we get Nameless King. That was a mind blow. And I came out of the beta test footage thinking, well, Duchess and Wilder look really sick. I'll probably play them. And then kind of quiet. And I didn't think much about the game until the release day came, in which I was just playing other games like Resident Evil, not particularly excited about it, but my two buddies who I was planning to play the game with were extremely excited about it. Game comes out, we play it for like, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours straight until we decided to close it for the night, and I had a good time. My main motivation for continuing to play Nightreign at that point were my two friends. They love Elden Ring, I love Elden Ring. It seemed like a no-brainer to play a version of Elden Ring that was geared toward co-op. But then, as time progressed, I realized I severely underestimated the sheer pull that Nightreign would have over me. What kept me so hooked to Nightreign, even beyond the point where my two friends that I initially bought the game to play with stopped playing it for a while, was the gameplay loop, the really cool characters, especially Duchess, and the surprisingly good writing behind both those characters and the story in general. Story isn't often a focus for me. I really do enjoy the lore in these games. I think it's super cool. But the story in Nightreign is both more streamlined and just as vague as it always is with From Software, but it's primarily the characters, the Nightfarers themselves, that really push that narrative forward. And you kind of care about the story because not only do you think the Nightfarers are just really cool, but if you do the remembrances and see how those characters develop and how they came into where they are in the current moment, you can't help but care for these guys, man. It's no wonder why you see so much fan art for the Nightfarers even today, because they're just really sick and they genuinely have stories that touch the heart, especially ones like Wilder and Duchess's story. Revenant's story is really messed up, but you root for her because you want to see her get payback. Stuff like that. It all goes a long way. And what goes even further is how this game has continued to keep me hooked. Spawning in an expedition, already thinking about what route am I going to take from here? What POI do I go to first? How do I go to the next one, depending what I find in this current one? What bosses am I going to find there, depending what boss I find? Do I fight it now? Do I go to another location like the mines or an Everjail? If the boss is doable, okay, what's my team got going? What do I have going? What relics do they have? All of this stuff just instantly floods into my head at this point now. But when the game first came out, oh my god, I had no idea what to do. I was clueless. And it was awesome because I love figuring stuff out. It felt like this big puzzle that I had to piece together, and eventually I did. And when it all clicked, the game just exploded once more in fun. And in a lot of ways, that's the traditional Souls experience, right? But with Nightreign, you have the added elements of unique character movesets and abilities. You have the team compositions. You have, again, the whole roguelike elements depending what fort you're going to, what's the formation of it, what enemies are in there, what rewards do you find, what passives you need for your character, what passives do your partners need for their characters. It's all this decision making, this back and forth you need to be super quick at that really makes it addictive for me. It's always such a quick brain teaser that eventually becomes easier just through knowing, okay, this is how things go. That allows you to make those critical decisions faster, which is the name of the game in Nightreign. Not so much, oh, how fast can you kill this particular boss, which, I mean, yeah, that is a part of Nightreign. But it's that decision-making process that I find to be particularly engaging. And since its release, Nightreign has drastically improved. I remember when merely climbing up walls was an issue because the Nightfarers at the time just refused to do the animation. Thankfully, From Software patched that pretty quickly. I believe that was a PC-specific bug only, but still, as someone playing on PC, it was very annoying. And then we would get balance patch updates, be it to tuning some of the enemies or elements of the map, like invasions and how they behave, or we get specific Nightfarer buffs or nerfs. Mostly buffs. There weren't really many nerfs at all throughout the history of the game's life thus far. I say thus far. I remember being very happy when Duchess got buffed because I am biased. And then the last balance patch we had, Executor got mega buffed. But where the updates really got crazy was when the Everdark Sovereigns came into the picture. The Everdark Sovereigns, starting with Adele, were absolutely crazy, dude. Seeing Everdark Adele for the first time and him doing his massive tornado attack, thinking, how the hell do we do this, bro? And it would only get crazier and more wild from there. I really love the idea of the Everdark Sovereigns. Now, their quality... Some of their quality will be debated amongst the community, like Augurs, for example. A lot of people either love or hate Everdark Libra, but I do think that is part of the fun. And then the update that really changed the game forever was Deep of Night. The Deep of Night update is like the de facto way that most people who still play Nightreign play it now. Not only does it add even more RNG and strategy to it, but it's overall a higher difficulty curve than what the normal mode is. My favorite part of it is all of the more unique and wacky weapon passives that you will find, like Black Flame on charge attacks, Holy Shockwave on charge attacks, or Precision Aiming causes X effect. Weird and wacky things like that I find to be really cool. But the biggest learning curve to it is the negative effects that come on weapons too. Repeated evasions lowers damage negation is a absolute curse for Duchess players. I think basically for every character, maybe outside of Guardian. Then you have stuff like near death reduces max HP. So if you go down, your HP is halved by like 25%. You have reduced damage negation while using an Estus flask. All right, Flask of Crimson Tears. I still call it Estus flask. So that punishes you for healing badly. There's a bunch of really cool negative effects that require you to not only play better, but to be more thoughtful of what actions you're doing because they could heavily cost you. Each of these added elements make Deep of Night really fun to go through, and once you hit depth 3 and above, then you start getting augmentation such as no visual map, like no icons are on the map, so you have to eyeball the whole expedition, or random Night Lord, where you don't know what Night Lord you're going to be facing, and thus you have to kind of hope you get the right stuff needed for that fight. Then, of course, we have From Software's just top-tier presentation. The cutscene fidelity and the art style is as top-notch as ever, and the soundtrack to Nightreign. The unique pieces of music that are in this game are some of FromSoft's best, I'm going to be real. Be it the various Night Lord tracks or the music you hear throughout the Great Hollow in the DLC. Even when the night is closing in, the rain comes at you, you hear that tense music start kicking in. It's just really good stuff, man. And speaking of the DLC, The Great Hollows itself, I find to be a really cool DLC. I absolutely love the new map. I like that it's chaotic and weird and very vertical. Most of the new bosses we get, especially Artorias as a Night boss, are super sick, really well done fights. Balancers as a Night Lord, I like the normal one. Everdark, I don't like at all, which is not a hot take. And Dreadlord is really, really cool. In general, I think the DLC is very solid. I know many people are very sad that we don't have any Shadow of the Erdtree weapons included, and I really hope we get to see more content added to this game, but I don't blame the Forsaken Hollows DLC for not having more weapons because they never really advertise new weapons. Despite some issues I do have with the DLC, it's a great time with friends, and man, do I desperately hope at this point that From Software realizes how much of a goldmine they really do have here, and they dedicate even just a small team to prolonging Nightreign's life and giving us more content throughout the coming months, even if it's just minor little drip feed things, various patches. It doesn't need to be anything much. Even have events where we can get outfits for characters. That's one of the biggest, easiest things that they could do for this game, is provide more outfits for characters to wear through timed events even. While sure, that would be that is more live servicey, I do understand, but something they could do to prevent it from being fully live servicey is you have that timed event where you can unlock the outfit for the characters, and then a little bit of time later, they're available in the game for the price of Merc. So no microtransactions, none of that stuff. Just you need to get it at a later time in the game, and it'll cost you, let's say, 50k Merc. Or what they could also do is have events cycle like Everdark Sovereigns currently do. So that way, if you miss a timed event, the next one of the cycle comes on, and then maybe a week or two later, the one that you missed will come back through the cycle, thus giving you another opportunity to do it. Alright, I know I've been singing Nightreign's praises up until this point, but I do want to talk about some of the things I have genuine critiques about, like the relic system. I do think the relic system needs a bit more work put into it. As much as I would love a full-on customization option for relics, I understand that's what FromSoft does not have envisioned for this system. However, I do think it would help if there was a way for us to kind of sacrifice a relic effect and put it on a different relic. So like you lose that relic, we need to pay a certain amount of Merc to customize that relic. Just give us some form of at least minor control or mitigation with the RNG, because as it stands right now, the relic RNG is just bad. It really is bad. And I say this as someone who has a genuine great to God rolls on relics. I have a lot of really good relics on the character I even play, but many people don't, and it took me a long time to get these relics. Like, I have over 1,200 hours in Nightreign, and some of these relics I acquired maybe after 1,000 hours of playtime, which is absurd. Most people are not going to play this game for that long. So yeah, I think the relic system could use a bit of a rework. Another thing is that I'd like to see more variety in what we face during an expedition. More seeds would be great, because the game is seed generation based. There is no real true randomizer element to Nightreign. It's not like you get thrown in an expedition, the game runs a randomizer code, and boom, there's your run. It's all seed generated. If we had a true randomizer mode, that would be insane, dude. That would be so cool. And really, the final thing I would love to see added to this game, this is kind of a critique toward Deep of Night, but I think Deep of Night would be a lot better if Depths 4 and 5, or at least 5, were a true endless mode. Not just, it's even more difficult. Imagine if you had an endless mode where you begin the run, and it keeps going and going and going until you actually lose. So even after you beat the Night Lord, well, you just start another expedition at your current level with your current equipment, and you just get to be more and more powerful as the tension ramps further and further and further along the expedition. Part of the magic of a roguelike is how crazy powerful you can actually become until you eventually either lose or win. In this case, just have it be you keep playing until you eventually lose. Or if there is some kind of ending, make it like after about, let's say 5-7 runs you win. Maybe even 10 runs. A full-on gauntlet that you need to lock in for hours for. I think an endless mode of that type would be super, super cool. I would really love to see something like that. And I think it is a genuine shame that we don't have a system like that in place. So to sum up, yeah, I really, really love Nightreign. It's been one hell of a first year for it. And I hope, I pray that From Software continues to support this game for yet another year, because I truly think it does deserve it. And now that we're here, a whole year later, I really do recommend Nightreign to anyone who is curious about the game or just loves Souls games in general. If you love Souls games, you love Elden Ring, but you haven't picked up Nightreign and you have a few friends that also like Souls games, 100% recommend this game, dude. Alright guys, if you enjoy content like this from me, please do consider hitting that like button and perhaps even subscribing to my little old channel. It really does go a long way. I truly appreciate it, and I will continue to make more Nightreign videos, more Souls game videos I have to get into as well, and some other stuff. So if you all like my content, hope to see you again for the next one. Adios.